Good morning. I'm Liz Foy, and I wanted to share a few things that came through the last couple days. I went on a hiking trip to Cumberland Falls, about 2.5 hours away from Louisville, and some ideas about balance came to me. And I asked in the group about balance, and I was quite amazed at the responses that came through. When I typically hear about balance, the most common term that I hear is work-life balance. And when I hear work-life balance, that kind of hit me the last few days when I was thinking about balance. And I was like, why is it work-life balance? Why does work have to be separate from life? Why are so many people doing things that they don't like, for one? And why are those the two, work and life? Why do they have to be separate, and that's what we balance? And I was so pleasantly surprised by the responses that came in the group. So some of the responses of what does balance mean to you: a calm mind and soul, peace, noticing as facets of life have gotten excessive or neglected, trying to bring them back to where it feels right, the unknown, harmony of the mind, body, and spirit, which is extremely rare, lucky to get a few seconds, mind, body, soul connection in sync, vibrating at your highest true potential, opposite of off-kilter, harmony, as in smooth, yin and yang, ebb and tide, even with fluctuations, it returns to center. I'll let you know when I find it, and serenity. So I was very, very surprised with how those weren't the typical words that have to do with balance. Like I typically hear with balance is work-life. So I was very pleased with that. The information that I was downloading, if you will, over the weekend was about how we tend to look at balance as things in our current life as balance. And we are spiritual beings. We are light beings that are having a human experience. And so when we look at balance as just things having to do with this life, we're missing a big piece of it. That big piece being the spiritual piece. And so how do we balance our human experience and all of the things that need to be done in this human experience, as well as with our spiritual side? And I love that in this group, so many of the responses did have to do with spirit. And I think that's because that's the space that we have created as empaths, as people that are sensitive to spiritual energies. And so I invite you to look next time that you're talking about needing balance. What does that look like for you? Are you referring to things that are just within your human experience of balance? Or are you looking at how can you balance your spiritual feelings and your human experience? The other piece of this that I wanted to bring up is a term called spiritual bypassing. If you've heard of spiritual bypassing, comment when you rewatch this and let me know what you've heard of it. I had just heard about spiritual bypassing for the first time probably about a year ago, and it really hit home for me because as someone that's very intuitive and that can go to those spiritual deep meditation Zen places really easily, it can become easy to spiritually bypass. What it means to spiritually bypass is to ignore the human experience and to stay in that spiritual Zen space. And I'm curious if any of you have experienced this and what you've done with it. Because for me, when I recognized that, I saw that not only in myself, but in others in my community, that it can become really easy when you do reach that place of, oh wow, I can reach this relaxation through meditation or through breath work or through whatever the spiritual applications are that get you that wonderful, peaceful feeling of being back with source energy. Sometimes it can be easy to stay there and to not be in our spiritual or in our human experience. And so that term is spiritual bypassing. This happens a lot also when there are current things going on in the political climate or just things going on in this world that we want to escape. And sometimes people will do that through extra yoga, extra meditation, whatever it is, to escape and just have that feel-good experience. So I urge you the next time that you look at balance to really or that you catch yourself saying balance in your head, look at what you're trying to balance. Are you balancing things in your life, meaning in your human experience of work, family, free time, social? Are you talking about balance with money? Or are you working in the spiritual aspect as well of how can you balance and choose to stay in this human experience? Because we are all light beings, we are all spiritual beings, but our soul chose to have a human experience. So it's easy to stay in that spiritual place once we connect to it. And one of my goals is to help people connect to that spiritual place. But by doing that, I also feel an ethical responsibility to point out that there has to be a balance, that we can't stay in that feel-good space without coming back to our earthly experience and sharing that with others and applying what we learn. So through our meditation and through reconnecting with our light being self, having an intention of how we are going to bring that back with us and how we are going to apply that for the good of mankind because we did choose to have this human life. So let me know if any of that is new information to you, how that resonates, and what ways you tend to find peace, and if that does tend to balance only things in the human life or things in the spiritual life as well as the work-life balance and all the other things that go into life here. So just a quick little tidbit. Thanks for hopping on early, and if you watch the replay, let me know. And let me know any other questions you have about balance or anything else, and I'd love to share the information. Thanks.